remember the early days of Ethel Inc. It was my dream, built from scratch with years of endless work. I poured my heart into it, watching it grow into a multi-million-dollar enterprise. My greatest pride came from seeing my vision become a reality, providing for so many families. I valued integrity and hard work above all else. Liam joined Ethel Inc. as a young, eager graduate. I saw his potential and mentored him closely. He became my most trusted protégé, almost like family. I shared my knowledge, my strategies, everything. I believed in him completely, trusting him with the most sensitive parts of my business. He was my right hand, a successor I was grooming. Then my world shifted. My beloved husband, Thomas, fell ill unexpectedly. The diagnosis was grim. My focus splintered. Every day was a battle, juggling hospital visits with work demands. I felt a deep, constant ache, a vulnerability I had never known. My personal life consumed me, leaving me distracted and emotionally drained. It was during this time that I noticed the first small irregularity, a minor discrepancy in a quarterly financial report. It was easily explained away, a coding error, Liam assured me. I was too tired, too preoccupied with Thomas to dig deeper. I trusted Liam, so I let it go. I told myself it was just a small oversight. A few weeks later, another odd transaction appeared. A client account seemed slightly off. I questioned Liam again. He had a ready answer, a plausible explanation about a new system integration. My mind was still clouded by grief and worry. I wanted to believe him. I needed to believe him because I had so little energy left for anything else. Then the accusations erupted. They hit me like a physical blow. News headlines screamed my name, linking me to egregious financial fraud. My company, my reputation, my life's work all under attack. I felt a cold dread spread through me. It was a public downfall, orchestrated with shocking precision. The media descended. Reporters camped outside my home. My phone rang constantly with aggressive questions. My name, once a symbol of success, was now synonymous with deceit. I felt humiliated, exposed, and utterly alone. Every accusation felt like a personal assault, chipping away at my very being. The world seemed to turn against me. The board meeting was a blur of hostile faces. Liam sat there, calm and composed as the accusations were read. He presented his evidence, carefully crafted lies that painted me as a greedy, corrupt leader. The vote was unanimous. They removed me, the founder, from my own company. I watched, stunned, as Liam smoothly stepped into my chair, seizing control of everything I had built. I walked out of that building a ruined woman. My reputation was in tatters, my bank accounts frozen, and insurmountable debt loomed over me. The betrayal was a gaping wound. Liam, the man I trusted like a son, had systematically dismantled my life. I felt a profound emptiness, a shock that left me numb and disoriented. For days, I struggled with despair and confusion. How could this have happened? How could I have been so blind? Then a chilling thought began to form. The timing of Thomas's illness, the minor discrepancies, Liam's perfect answers, his swift takeover. It was all too perfect. A cold, hard spark ignited within me. This was not an accident. This was a plan, and I would uncover the truth no matter the cost. My world felt like a shattered mirror. I was isolated, stripped of my company, my reputation, and my resources. The silence in my once bustling home was deafening. I felt a profound emptiness, a deep ache that settled in my bones. But beneath the despair, a tiny spark flickered. I knew I couldn't stay broken. I had to fight, not just for myself, but for the truth. This was where my fight began, with nothing but my own resolve. I started by trying to access my old company accounts. Every attempt was met with a digital wall. Locked, erased. It was as if I had never existed. I tried calling a former colleague, Sarah, who had always been loyal. Her phone rang once, then went straight to voicemail. I tried again and again. No answer. My heart sank. The isolation was not just physical, it was a carefully constructed barrier. Liam had thought of everything. I moved to my hidden stash of old documents. Boxes filled with printed emails, financial reports, and company memos. Things I had kept purely out of habit. Now they were my only hope. I spread them across the dining table, a sea of paper. Hours turned into days. My eyes ached, my head throbbed, but I kept sifting, searching for the smallest inconsistency. It felt like looking for a needle in a haystack, but I refused to give up. Then I found it. A small line item in a quarterly report from 2 years ago. A minor expense, easily overlooked, but it was coded unusually. I remembered Liam had insisted on handling that specific project. It was nothing major on its own, but it felt wrong. My heart quickened. This wasn't just an error. It was a subtle thread in a much larger, darker tapestry. I felt a chill run down my spine. A memory flashed through my mind. Liam offering to streamline my access to certain financial data, suggesting it would free up my time. I had thanked him, grateful for his initiative. Now I saw it differently. He was isolating me, slowly but surely, controlling the flow of information. He had used my trust, my vulnerability during Thomas's illness against me. I felt a sickening realization that he had been playing a long game. The pieces began to fit together, forming a horrifying picture. The minor discrepancies, his perfectly plausible explanations, his subtle suggestions that I was overworking. He wasn't just siphoning funds, he was systematically eroding my confidence, making me doubt my own judgment. It was psychological warfare, meticulously planned. The depth of his betrayal, how he preyed on my grief, hit me like a wave. I felt a cold anger replace my confusion. I started making a new list, not of evidence, but of people. Employees who had worked closely with Liam or who might have been privy to certain projects. People who had seemed uncomfortable or distant in the months leading up to my downfall. I remembered a junior accountant, Maria, who had once subtly hinted at concerns about budget allocations. She was quiet but observant. Could she be a key? Then I found the smoking gun. Hidden within a series of archived emails, a coded message, seemingly innocent, between Liam and an offshore account manager. It detailed instructions for diverting funds, disguised as vendor payments. The dates matched the accusations against me. It was irrefutable. My hands trembled, not from fear, but from a surge of righteous fury. This was it. Concrete proof of his systematic framing. The crushing weight of his betrayal, which had paralyzed me for so long, now transformed into a cold, hard resolve. My initial despair gave way to a fierce determination. Liam had taken everything, but he would not take my spirit. I would fight. I would expose him. I would reclaim my name and my legacy. The path ahead was daunting, but I felt a clarity I hadn't known in months. Justice would be mine. I picked up my phone, my fingers hovering over Maria's old number. It was a risk. She might ignore me or worse, warn Liam, but I had to try. This was the first step, a fragile bridge across the chasm of my ruined life. I took a deep breath, picturing her quiet, observant face. This was the beginning of my counterattack. I pressed call, my heart pounding with a mixture of fear and fierce hope. My call to Maria was answered, her voice a thin thread of hesitation. I spoke carefully, explaining everything that had happened, the evidence I had found. She admitted to seeing things, small details about Liam's projects that had bothered her, but she hadn't understood their meaning then. Her fear was clear in her pauses, but a flicker of outrage, a sense of right and wrong, also came through. She agreed to meet. This was the first step in building my new team, a tiny spark of hope in the vast darkness. It felt like the beginning of everything. With Maria's quiet but firm support, I met a new lawyer, a sharp woman known for her ethical fight against corporate fraud. I laid out Liam's entire scheme, showing her the coded emails, the offshore accounts, and the carefully hidden financial discrepancies. The lawyer listened intently, her expression growing grim with each piece of evidence. She confirmed we had a strong, undeniable case. A wave of relief washed over me, mixed with a fierce, cold determination. The legal battle had officially begun, and I felt a surge of strength. I knew the courts would take time, and I needed public pressure to truly expose Liam. I reached out to Sarah Jenkins, a tenacious investigative journalist known for exposing corporate corruption. We met in a quiet, out-of-the-way cafe, far from prying eyes. I shared my entire story, showed her the documents, and laid bare Liam's years of betrayal. She listened intently, her eyes sharp and knowing. She understood the depth of his calculated cruelty. I felt a nervous excitement, knowing this strategic leak would soon ignite a public firestorm. The article hit the news like a bomb. "The architect of deceit, CEO Protégé exposed," screamed the headlines. Sarah's words were precise, damning, revealing Liam's systematic fraud. The public outcry was immediate and widespread. I saw Liam on the news, his usual calm composure replaced by a strained, defensive look. His carefully constructed facade, the image of a successful leader, was cracking for all to see. A small, cold satisfaction settled in my chest. The world was finally seeing him for who he truly was. The tide of public opinion began to turn dramatically. Comments online and discussions on television shows started to question the initial narrative that had condemned me. People who had once believed Liam's lies now expressed doubt and sympathy. Former colleagues who had kept their distance cautiously started reaching out, offering their support. My children, who had quietly witnessed my pain and humiliation, now heard whispers of their mother's innocence. A fragile, precious hope began to bloom, not just for my name, but for their understanding. In the courtroom, the truth unfolded with devastating clarity. Maria testified bravely, detailing the unusual transactions and Liam's strange instructions. My lawyer presented the coded emails, the evidence of offshore accounts, and the meticulously falsified records. The proof was overwhelming. Liam tried to deflect, to lie, but his words rang hollow, easily disproven. Each revelation was a hammer blow to his carefully built empire of lies. I watched him, impassive, as his world began to crumble before everyone's eyes. Justice was near. During a tense recess, I found myself face to face with Liam in a quiet courthouse hallway. His eyes, usually so confident, held a desperate mix of fear and hatred. "You ruined me," he hissed, his voice low and venomous. I looked at him calmly, my voice steady and clear. "No, Liam," I said. "You ruined yourself. You betrayed my trust, my friendship, everything I taught you. You preyed on my grief. This is the consequence of your choices." His face contorted in silent fury, but he had no answer. The verdict came swiftly and decisively. Guilty. Liam was led away, his face pale and defeated, his carefully constructed empire in ruins. He now faced criminal charges, the loss of his freedom, and the forfeiture of every penny he had stolen. The news reported his spectacular downfall, a stark and public contrast to the praise he had once received. Justice, slow and painful, had finally arrived. I felt a deep, quiet sense of vindication, a heavy weight lifting from my shoulders. It was truly over for him. The headlines now sang a completely different tune. "Maya Sharma exonerated. CEO reclaims legacy." My name was cleared, my reputation fully restored in the eyes of the public. The world finally saw the truth of Liam's deception and my innocence. It was a victory, but a deeply bittersweet one. The years of struggle, the profound pain, the public humiliation, they wouldn't just vanish from my memory. Yet I was free, and my children now knew their mother was innocent. That, above all else, was what truly mattered. I stood at the site of what would be my new company. Not Ethel Inc., but something entirely new, something built on stronger foundations, with people I truly trusted. I was older, wiser, and infinitely stronger than before. Liam had tried to break me, to destroy everything I had built, but he had only forged me into something more resilient. This wasn't just a comeback, it was a profound rebirth. My new legacy would be built on integrity, on my own terms, a testament to true triumph. I looked to the future, ready for anything.